It's interesting, isn't it? You take a look at the defence. Obviously, we've talked at length about that. And we also spoke after that Juventus game about the return of Rodri. And we're like, wow. It's like having a new player here for Manchester City. He made such a difference in that tie. When he came on last night, he looked like a player who's been out for a year.
He did. And he was superb in that Juventus game. And I think it was probably one of the reasons why City, as a team, were so impressive. But Rodri himself has spoken to us while they were in the States and said that he thought it was going to take months before he reached his top level. And you're right, when he came on against Al Hilal last night, it looked like that was true. He looked rusty. He looked a little bit tired. He went off towards the end. He came on, early in the second half. He went off before the game ended. Pep Guardiola sort of hinted afterwards that there was some kind of problem there, that he didn't get too into it, but suggested that Rodri had said that he didn't feel comfortable. And I think, Pep Guardiola at that point, as much as he wants to win the Club World Cup, has thought, well, we can't risk having such an important player be out for an extended period again. We're just going to take him off and wrap him in cotton wool. The worry is that Rodri is that important to this team, and there is just no one else who can do that job. At the moment, Kovacic is injured. He's had an Achilles operation. He's not going to be back for a few months. They spent an awful lot of money on Nicol Gonzalez in January. He can't get a game. He's barely played. He barely played in the second half of last season in the Premier League. We've barely seen him at the Club World Cup. There's clearly an issue there with whether Pep Guardiola fancies him as a player or not. And the worry is that if it is going to take Rodri months to come back, there's no one there to step in. So either you're just waiting for Rodri to return and then you can return to your level as a team, or you're just kind of saying, well, we can't play in the way we want to without Rodri. And really, for a club the size of City, that's not really good enough.
It shouldn't be a surprise that Rodri struggled in the second game. The first, when you've been out for a while, the easiest game is the first game back.
Oh, really?
Your adrenaline's through the roof.
Right.
You can run all day. You're pumped up. Everything can't wait to get a hold of it. And then when you stop playing, you've just given your body a shock. His body's not been through that sort of, the nervous energy, all of those things in a game. When you finish and everything calms down, his body after that last game would be, oh my, what happened to that? How do I get over this? And so that's why you see him struggling, because it's really hard for the body just to all of a sudden get back to that adrenaline and everything else. And that's why it's going to take time. And that's why they need to look after him and be very, very careful.
Let's talk about the opposition. This isn't Auckland, by the way. This is a side that have spent a lot of money. And as Frank mentioned, of course, there's a lot of talent within this side. It's interesting what Milinkovic-Savic had to say after the game. You take a look at the amount of money that has been spent on these transfers, and it's certainly no change. You take a look at what his comments after the match were. And he said, let's see now if they'll criticise us. We showed them it's not like they are speaking about the league. We show against Real Madrid, Salzburg, Pachuca tonight. I hope we will continue to show it. Frank, what's interesting with that quote, I'm thinking, like, if this was Hollywood, you can imagine the manager's speech before kick-off. Go out there, show everyone. They've said that you've sold your footballing soul, that all you care about is money. Go out there and show them that you can still play. Does that actually work in real life?
Oh, it does. It does, because we are talking about ego. We are talking about players who are supposedly thinking about more money than football, than sport, than passion. But they are talented players, and some of them are under 30 years old. I always say, if you're over 30, you proved, maybe or maybe not, but it's a time maybe to, save some money. But before, for me, it's a pity, because you deserve to be in bigger championships. Sorry, but yesterday or last night, they showed to the world that that's a team who could compete maybe in the Premier League as well, because they have all the names and they have all the power, and physically they are still at the top to compete with any other club. I don't know what would happen in 38 games, but in that game, where everybody was agreeing to put Manchester City one of the favorites, one of the contenders to that tournament, that they were better. They were more consistent, they were solid at first, and then they were hungry, and they wanted to win that game. And with the talent that they have, I was naming Milinkovic-Savic, but so many others. I mean, Koulibaly signed for Chelsea.
Right.
It's 4 cup
We
finals.
didn't recognize him.
Right.
It's they've just had 4 cup finals.
Right.
And Frank just said it there. It's a different ball game, 38 games, when you've got to be at that level every single game.
No, absolutely. But we're not asking where this team would finish in the Premier League.
No.
We're talking about within this context, within this tournament, this is a side that can go a long way because, as you say, for them, it's 4 finals. And I just find it quite interesting, the psychology of it, that you can press those buttons on the players to get them up another level.
Yeah, it's all the things that you asked the first question with. You know, it's the one thing in your head. I'm going to show all these people that I can still play the game, even because I've gone for the money, and that's driving them.
Right.
That makes them run faster. You know, everything they do is just that little bit quicker and stronger than what they're doing. Probably 25 of the 38 league games they play, or whatever it is. That's the difference. It's dead easy to play in a cup final. Go ask Man United how bad they've been all season, but they beat City in a cup final. This team's got 3 other cup finals left, maybe.
Right.
And they could possibly win. As I said, I don't disagree with a word you said the other night, by the way. At all. You know, this can happen. Man City lost.
Right.
But as I said, they shouldn't have lost because the game should have been over at half-time.
Of course, it will be Fluminense in the next round then, Rob. Who are favourites going into that side, going into that tie?
Well, I think it has to be Al Hilal now, after that performance against Man City. And we have to remember that this isn't a one-off. You know, I know that Real Madrid are perhaps not at their top level in this tournament, but Al Hilal have also drawn in the groups against Real Madrid. And Pep Guardiola said before the City game that if you can draw against Real Madrid, that shows that you're a top team. And I think obviously clearly they've got good players. You know, we talked about the investment in the playing squad. The one thing perhaps we haven't spoken about is the hiring of Simone Inzaghi. I mean, he is a top manager. He's taken into 2 out of the last 3 Champions League finals. He is was one of the most sought after head coaches in Europe, and he's been lured to Saudi Arabia to manage Al Hilal. And having that kind of leadership and that guidance, that type of character to mould what is a great group of players, gives Al Hilal a real opportunity now in this tournament. They'll fancy their chances of getting through against Fluminense. That would mean a semi-final, possibly against Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea, again, haven't looked fantastic in this tournament. And when you sort of look at their path possibly through this competition, you can see Al Hilal being in that Club World Cup final, which for them, you know, having arrived in the US, not being motivated by the money or the prize money on offer, but being motivated to show people the level of Saudi Arabian football. And all these players and coaches were right to move to Saudi Arabia. I think to reach a Club World Cup final would be a massive statement for Al Hilal and also Saudi Arabian football. One
thing before we let you go, Rob, as you're on, I'm obliged to ask you about Marcus Rashford, who has been linked to Bayern Munich now.
Wow.
It wouldn't be an appearance on the show without talking about Marcus, would it? Yeah, I mean, we understand that Bayern Munich are looking for a winger. They were linked with Nicol Williams. They've asked about the conditions, the financial conditions that it would take to sign Marcus Rashford. United have been very clear that they're willing to accept offers around £40 million. They're also willing to consider loan offers, you know, take Marcus Rashford on loan for a season. I'm going to bore you with the same answer, though, I'm afraid. The problem is Marcus Rashford's wages. He is on an extortionate amount of money at Man United. He's got 3 years left on his contract. And before any of these deals get over the line, whether it's Bayern Munich, Barcelona, anyone else, they're going to have to be willing to match those wages unless Marcus himself wants to take a pay cut. And so far, he hasn't shown a willingness to do that. At some stage, he's going to have to make a decision because he clearly will want to play football next season. He wants to play in Europe. He wants to play in the Champions League. He wants to be in the England squad in the United States, the World Cup this time next year. At some stage, he's going to have to decide whether playing football is more important than money. And if he's willing to take a pay cut, then maybe the likes of Bayern Munich and Barcelona deals with those clubs come onto the table. But so far, you know, sitting here right now, he's due back at Man United for pre-season training next week.
Thank you very much, Rob. Where to next? Where are you off to now, mate?
I've got one more game in Orlando, and then I'm off home. I'm tagging in the big hitters for the semi-finals in New York. Mark Ogden and...
There There you go. Stuart Robson will be coming over for that, actually. Thank you very much, Rob. Much appreciated. If you want to hear about Stevie's beach vacation, then be sure to check out Extra Time, which is available over on our YouTube channel.